We are streaming. We are recording. It's time for Clubhouse Chatter. Here's the man, the myth, Norm Ordez.
That's right. We got a little elevator music in the background tonight. So my second guest tonight is former Major League pitcher and former Portland Beaver, Brian Tollberg. Brian, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. Happy belated Thanksgiving to you guys.
Hey, thank you. Back to you. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I born and raised in Florida. I reside here in the Tampa Bay area now currently. Married with two little boys, and played professionally for about 12 years. And I currently own a franchise here and do a lot of pitching lessons locally. So that's what keeps me busy these days.
Nice. Now, Brian, you were, I believe, you played in the Frontier League with the Chillicothe Paints, correct? Did I pronounce that right?
Correct.
And you were were you the first person ever signed out of was it the Frontier League or was it independent baseball altogether to play in the major leagues?
I was the first person from the Frontier League to make it to the big leagues. I beat another guy by about a week, I believe, to the big leagues. So very proud of that fact, and met a lot of good people. That's kind of what got my career started up in Ohio there, and so have a lot of great memories. Still keep up with some of my teammates from back then. So had a very good time, and kind of learned my work ethic up there in the process as well.
And now you pitched with the Padres. I think you also pitched with the Astros, didn't you? Briefly.
I started with the Brewers in the minor leagues. I spent 2 years in the minor leagues with the Brewers organization, and then got traded in spring training of '97 to San Diego. Got to the big leagues with them in 2000. Played with them until '03, I believe, and then spent '04 with the Rockies organization, '05 with the Astros, and '06 with Toronto, and then retired after '06.
Okay. And now you spent some time in Portland, Oregon as well. Portland's only about 45 minutes from where I'm at. And so tell us a little bit about your time in Portland. What did you think of the city?
I originally went there as a rehab assignment. Broke a finger on a ball hit back up the middle off of Sean Casey in 2001, and spent a little bit of time there rehabbing in 2001, and had a very great experience there. People were really nice. Ballpark was downtown, so it was right in the middle of the action downtown. A lot of good restaurants and such around. So I only was there for a brief period in '01, and then once I had my Tommy John surgery in '02, when I got back in '03 to get back to full strength, I spent most of the year rehabbing down in AAA in Portland, and I had a decent season. Not good enough to stick back in the big leagues for more than 3 starts, but I had a lot of good memories there. Had a good team. A lot of up-and-coming prospects came through there. Jason Bay, Khalil Green were some of the guys that I played with there. So, got a lot of good teammates from that season.
Now, did you play? Was Ben Petrick part of the Portland Beavers team when you came through?
Ben Petrick was not there. Now,
okay.
Ben Davis was a guy that he might have spent a little bit of time there, but no, I did not play with Ben Petrick. He was actually out of the Rockies organization most of the time that I was coming up.
Right, yeah, because I know there toward the end of his career, he came in with Portland for a while, for part of a season, and so.
Gotcha.
So yeah, Portland. We miss baseball in Portland. We miss the Beavers, and of course now PG Park is now a soccer only facility, and they have no AAA baseball up here now, and it's really sad. That stadium was meant for baseball, and man, like you, I spent a lot of time up there, and we've watched you pitched, and we definitely miss the Beavers.
Well, it was a very unique park. I likened it to Fenway just because the dimensions were a little different. They had a big wall in left field, and it was a neat setup to be able to pitch there. And I always enjoyed pitching there at home, and occasionally got a rain out here and there, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of interesting that we were able to collaborate with the soccer team as well during my time there. So when we were out of town, they played their home games in town. But those things happen. I mean, it's kind of weird. When I was a kid, minor league affiliates used to stay in the same city for years and years and years, and it seems like they jump around quite a bit nowadays. So I kind of lose track of who's where nowadays. But, it's a business, and that's part of it, I guess.
So growing up in Florida, so who were you a fan of, and did you have a favorite player growing up?
I did. I had posters on my wall of Reggie Jackson growing up, Dwight Gooden, a big Wade Boggs fan. So a lot of the local guys that I knew through the grapevine. Roger Clemens, Nolan Ryan was another one. So, and a couple of those guys I was fortunate enough during my career or post-career to come across and meet at either a golf event or at a function. And all very good people, very, very nice people to come across. So,
yeah, I've had nothing but, I have nothing but good things to say about players. I mean, of course, it's like anything else in life. You come across your bad seeds, but working as a clubhouse manager and doing security for minor league teams and stuff like that, I've came across some great people, and being associated with the San Francisco Giants after working for them for about 8 years, I know a lot of those guys that are up on the major league team, and 6-7 years after playing in Salem Kaiser, they still remember who you are, and
sure.
It's a brotherhood, and it's like reaching out to you, to come on the show, and there was no, maybe. I mean, you were eager to come on out and hop in, and we definitely appreciate it. And
I'll tell you, I owe the game of baseball a lot from what I've done in my life. A lot of that has stemmed from the game of baseball, and I met a lot of great people, and I have nothing but good things, good memories of from 5 years old all the way up to present day of the game. And so I just try to give back and grow the game and grow the love of the game wherever I can. And so that's why I didn't hesitate to come on and help you out tonight. Absolutely.
What was the highlight of your major league career?
Oh, wow. I was somebody that was a blip on the screen. I was a small fish in a big pond during my time there. So at the end of the day, probably my biggest memories from the big leagues were probably my big league debut was pretty special. I ended up pitching against Todd Stottlemyre at Arizona. They were in first place at the time, and I ended up going 7 innings of one hit ball. I think we won 3-1 that game, and then I ended up pitching at Cincinnati for my second game. Took a shutout in the 8th inning of that game, and ended up eventually that week winning National League Player of the Week, my first week in the big leagues, which was kind of a special moment. And I was like a number 3, 4, 5 starter during my time in the big leagues. One of the games I happened to be a part of was I was the first pitcher to face Barry Bonds when he had 69 home runs.
Wow!
So that was kind of, and they were right in the thick of the playoff hunt that year in 2001. So that was a pretty special time. I saw a couple no-hitters in the process of my career in the big leagues. I saw Ricky Henderson break, I want to say it was the all-time walks or all-time runs record of Babe Ruth at the time. I think it's since been broken by Barry Bonds very soon thereafter. But just met a lot of good people and a lot of quality people. Like you said, there weren't a lot of ignorant people or people that were very arrogant, stuck on themselves. I could count on one hand how many people I came across in 12 years that fit that bill. So everybody was there for the same reason, because they loved the game and they wanted to achieve their goal of getting to the big leagues. And so I have a lot of good friends, a lot of good memories from those times.
So what was Barry Bonds like facing?
Tell you what, we typically would meet up pregame for a series before we face the team for a 4-game series, and we'd go over, the leadoff hitter of the team, the 2-hole, the third hitter, the cleanup hitter, and you'd kind of go over their weaknesses or how they've been scouted the last couple of weeks by the big league scouting department, and kind of how we wanted to attack them as a pitching staff and as the catchers go. And whenever it came to him, it was just like, just try to mix it up as best you can, because he really didn't have a weakness. if he took a pass at a ball and swung at a ball, he squared it up pretty much anytime he took a swing. So he was pretty tough to get out the couple of years that I faced him. So I just tried to stay away from big innings against him if he was going to hit a base hit off me, or if I walked him, kind of pitched around him and took my chances with who was sitting behind him. Then I tried to do that. Quite honestly, I wasn't there to try to go mano-a-mano against him. I knew that he was a special player at the time, and I just tried to minimize the damage anytime I faced him.
Right. So now I believe you are in process of writing a book, or is it done now?
In the process, coming up probably within the next month and a half, we should have wrapped up, and pretty excited about it. I wrote it actually. It was kind of an interesting way of me getting to the big leagues with the independent league, and in high school I quit my junior year. I always heard stories of Michael Jordan getting cut off his JV team, and so everybody has a story, I'm sure, but I quit my junior year of high school just because of the politics that were played, and took tennis lessons, and just kind of had fun and got away from the game a little bit. And when I came back, I got focused my senior year, and so I just kind of have an interesting way that I got from point A to point B from when I was a kid to get into the big leagues, and in the process playing in the independent league. And so I met a woman out in San Diego that's a career transition specialist, life coach, if you will, and just a real nice woman. And once I got done with my playing days, I really had no idea how I was best suited to attack the business world, or real life, I guess. And she kind of helped me through the transition and kind of saw where my strong suits were. And in the process of those couple months that I had spoken to her, I was going through some other stuff in my life personally, and I was a little depressed, as I'm sure most people are when they walk away from the game for the last time professionally. And I told people a little bit about my story, and I had a couple people along the way that said, you know what, you should think about writing a book. And she was game for it, so we kind of sat down over the course of a long couple of years now, and just tried to piece it together, and we're kind of coming up on the finish line, so I'm kind of excited.
That transition, we had Christian Colonel on from the Rockies organization, Idaho boy here a while back, and he talked about that transition from your playing career to basically a civilian life, not playing anymore, how hard it is.
Sure.
And, it led him to drink. He's sober now. He's been sober for quite a while, but it's a tough transition. And I remember back when I was clubhouse manager with the Lancaster Jethawks, talking to Damon Mayshore, who was our hitting coach, and asking what he would do, if he wasn't in baseball. And he couldn't give me an answer because he was like, this is all I know. And, and Jeff Pico was the same way, who's with the Cincinnati Reds right now. And, for a lot of those guys, it's tough. People don't realize on how hard of a transition it really is. You go from, playing 6, 7, 8 months out of the year, and then it's over. You hang up the spikes and you're done.
Sure. Well, and I guess I was kind of fortunate. A lot of the guys that you played against, they signed out of high school. They play 10, 12 years in the minor leagues, maybe get a chance if they're lucky to play professionally. But when they're playing in the off season, they're going to play, maybe try to make a little extra money in winter ball somewhere. And you go from high school to 12 years out, and you haven't really attacked college at all. And a lot of times if you're going to come out, you have a wife, maybe a couple kids, and if you're done playing the game, you really are not going to be able to walk into an unbelievable job situation. You need your college degree, and you need a little bit of experience in the workplace. And so I was fortunate that I wasn't in that situation, but there's a ton of people that I know that I'm friends with that did have that situation, and it leads you to, potentially like you said, the other guy, drinking, or just really not knowing where you fit in the real world, because you're kind of insulated playing professional sport, especially minor league ball, big league ball. You're with your brothers for 8-9 months out of the year, and then you come home and you start preparing for the next season right away. So it is pretty difficult, and I reached out to a couple of my good friends that were either college teammates or high school teammates of mine at the time, and just asked them, like, hey, I don't really know what I'm good at. And so they had some good words of wisdom for me, and kind of put me on the right track on kind of what I wanted to do. And it all came down to doing something you're passionate about. I mean, Mayshore is passionate about baseball. I love baseball. I still am able to help kids realize their dreams. And my whole goal with working with kids here locally is to get them a college scholarship, which I was fortunate to do when I played. And so at the end of the day, I still have my hand in baseball. I don't have the grind of the travel or anything like that, which I kind of enjoy because my body couldn't do it anymore, number one. And I like to be around to see my kids grow up. And that was one thing that I think a lot of players, when they were playing, you miss a lot of those highlights in people's lives, the first steps or the first words because you're off playing. And that's going to be tough. So I've been very fortunate, and, I wouldn't change the way I went about it and the order that I did things in my career and what I've done personally since then. So I've been very happy. So
with your time with the Padres, so back earlier this summer, Tony Gwynn passed away. Do you have a Tony Gwynn story that you can share with us?
I'll tell you, Tony was just a consummate professional. I mean, a lot of people disagreed with him for staying in San Diego, but I mean, he grew up in San Diego. He went to college there. He was just the face of the Padres, the face of San Diego, the city. And every time I was around him my rookie year, I felt like a kid around him. I didn't want to bother him or ask him for anything. And he was just such a generous person. Always wanted to talk shop. He was the first person to the field, whether he was playing that day or not, to get his practice in, and was such a nice guy. He had his son out there who's in the big leagues now, Tony Gwynn Jr. He would always be out there shagging fly balls with us and such. He was just, if you've ever spent time around Tony, you know his laugh. It's something that you never forget, his laugh. And I just, I would any time that I wasn't playing, if it wasn't one of my 5 days to pitch, I just tried to park right next to him on the bench and just pick his brain about pitch sequences or what you would throw in a certain situation that might be a better chance of getting you out in a certain situation. So, no, Tony Gwynn's story, he told a story around us one time. I forget what the situation was, but he was obviously not a slender man in his later years, and he told a story that one of the stories that touched him in his career, that they were playing at Wrigley. This is before I got there, and the fans at Wrigley can be a little bit tough on opposing players, as I know personally. And he was out in right field, playing, and the guys out in the outfield bleachers would say, "Tony, give me a bite of that hot dog you got in your pocket," and just were on him every single pitch. And and he rolled with the punches. He thought it was funny and played along with it. And I think that game he ended up going 5 for 5. And after he got his 5th hit, when he came back out to right field to start the next inning, the whole area out there in right field gave him a standing ovation. He said, it's just something that he's remembered his whole career. So that was something that I remembered, a story that he told me, which was kind of cool. So
that was pretty cool. So once again, Brian Tollberg with us. And so does your book have a name? Have you got a name for your book yet?
I got a working title, so I got called up. It's probably going to have something to do with the day I found out I got called up to the big leagues was on Father's Day in 2000, and I pitched 2 days after that, and so it'll have something to do with Father's Day most likely. So we got a couple little working titles, but something along those lines.
So tell us, I read that story earlier today. So tell us about that story when you found out that you had gotten called up. They had called you into, was it the pitching coach's office?
Yeah, I was. I tried to go. I was pitching well at the time in AAA in Vegas at the time, and we were in Tucson playing on just a 4-game quick little road trip to Tucson, and I like to go early to get my running done or my throwing bullpen session, what have you. And so I went over on the van, and you typically have vans. You have a couple different vans that go over to the park from the hotel. One that would be like a treatment van, or called an early ban. And so if you needed the trainer to work on you at all, or you wanted to just get your work done early, you could go over on that. So I typically would try to go over there, just get my work done and be done for the day. So I went over early, and with a couple of my roommate actually at the time had some shoulder issues, so he went over there as well. And I went, got my clothes on to go get my running done, and my pitching coach just walked up and said, "Hey." The day before, I was on the charts in the stands, and he had a couple questions for me on the charts that he wanted to ask me about. So just meet him in his office when I was done getting dressed. So I didn't think anything of it, just because I might have called a slider a curveball instead of a slider, and so he just wanted to get some confirmation of a couple pitches. And I walked into the office, and he closed the door behind me, and the pitching coach was there, the manager, the trainer, the clubhouse guy, and I'm thinking to myself, all these people don't need to ask me a question about the chart. And it just felt kind of weird. It felt like when I had first gotten traded from the Brewers to the Padres, it kind of was that feeling in the pit of my stomach. And the pitching coach said, "I got a proposition for you, if you will. If you do because it wasn't my day to chart that day. I was just going to be hanging out in the dugout." And he said, "If you chart for me today, I know it's not your day, but if you chart for me today, you can pitch in the big leagues on Tuesday." And and everybody's heard stories that's played in the minor leagues about a guy that was going to get called up, and they ended up going with somebody else, and there was a ton of disappointment or what have you. So I just wanted to kind of feel them out, and if this was a sure thing or if this was a maybe, just because I didn't want to get my hopes up. And it was a done deal. I was supposed to be up there for basically 3 starts, and somebody was going to be coming off the disabled list at that point, and I would come back down. So long story short, I was obviously happy, but you try to just keep an even keel, because everybody at the AAA level was trying to get to the big leagues. And so I went back out and was doing something else in the clubhouse real quick. And this was pre-cell phones, obviously, as well. So I'm just trying to think, where can I find a payphone that I can make some calls on my calling card. And so I got up to the second deck, I guess, of the ballpark there in Tucson, and I just wanted to call my dad. I had called my dad to wish him a happy Father's Day at the hotel before I left. But I wanted to call him. I wanted to call my college coach, who had a big influence on my career, and I wanted to call my agent at the time. And so called my dad. It was busy. Called my college coach, got through to him. He wished me well, and just a couple words of congratulations. Called my dad again. It was busy. Called my agent. He just said, "Leave him a ticket. Congrats," whatever. Called my dad again. It was busy, and this was basically when you could have the phone line that could either be on the internet, plugged into the internet, or you'd have your phone line. And so, come to find out, he was on the internet with my grandparents. Were over there for the day with my mom and dad, and so I just went out. And I had a lot of nervous energy, so I just went out and ran until I couldn't run anymore, and then came back sweaty. Tried the phone again, and finally got through to him. And obviously, it was something that he wasn't expecting, because I'd already talked to him before earlier that day, and just told him I had some news, and just let him in on the situation. He was obviously extremely happy. I'm sure anybody that's a dad, if their kid plays, that's a great feeling to have your son be able to call you and tell you that he's pitching in the big leagues. And so just told him that there'd be people in touch with him for the flights out, and all the details and such. And so it was neat to be able to on the day, I couldn't plan it any better, quite honestly, to be where I had been in the independent league, and to fight for what I'd got to up to that point. It was pretty special, obviously.
Wow. So once again, Brian Tollberg. And so one final question for you. What was the best advice that you had ever received?
Tell you what, my dad, to this day, still gives me advice, whether or not I listen to it or not. But he had always told me, you're not ever going to be the best player on any teams, per se, but you can always outwork anybody else on your team. And so, and I've never, I tell this to kids that I work with now currently, there's a lot of players that were better than me. I don't think I was ever the ace of any staff that I was on, and either minor leagues or big leagues. I was never the ace, but I always took it upon myself to outwork people. And so, and that really is what got me to the big leagues, in my opinion, was, I just continued to outwork people and find a way to be successful. And it's a game of failure, as many people say. And so you got to kind of figure out how to win. And, I tell kids that have professional aspirations now, whether they're in high school or college, put up numbers at every level and stay healthy. If you can do those two things, you're gonna get promotions along the way, and you're gonna run out of rungs on the ladder to achieve, and you'll get to your goal, whether it's minor league ball or big league ball. But you got to have the work ethic, because it is a business at that point. It's not about who likes you as a friend or what have you. It's about you doing your job on a consistent basis. And I loved the World Series this past series, just to watch a guy like Bumgarner, how calm and collected he was on the mound, how well he threw. There was a lot of positive that I drew out of that I could show to my students on how to be a professional, and how to pound the strike zone consistently, on how to throw your secondary pitches for strikes anytime you want. And that's that's pitching in a nutshell, what he showed. He's one of the best at it right now in the game. So, but I guarantee a lot of the work that's done is behind the scenes that's made him successful, and that's what you got to be able to do, is to motivate yourself and have the work ethic ingrained to be able to reach your goals. Because a lot of people want you at that same goal to get to the big leagues, and it's what are you willing to do to make it happen.
So when your book releases, would you come back on the show again with us, and we'll help you promote your book? And
absolutely would love to, Norm. Absolutely.
Sounds good. Once again, Brian Tollberg. Brian, thank you for coming on, and we'll be looking forward to chatting with you again.
Sounds good, Norm. Pleasure.
Right. Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir.
Once again, Brian Tollberg, former Padre, Astro, Brewer, and Rocky. I remember watching him play in Portland. I don't know. Do you remember him pitching in Portland, Brian?
I remember the name, definitely. Because he was a good pitcher.
He was a good pitcher. He was solid, and like you said, he never was the best of the staff, but he was there. And man, let's bring back those Beavers. Let's bring them back.
Sounds good to me.
So once again, we are sponsored by Base by Pros. Mitch Canham over there, Base by Pros, speaking of a former Padre. His dad, Mark Canham, does our shirts and Highway 30 Music Fest shirt, Mark Canham. We are also sponsored by basebypros.com, Mitch Canham. I'll throw Brian off a little bit. And so baseballism.com, go check it out. They got some specials going on for Black Friday. Baseballism.com. Baseball Dudes, Chris Gazelle up there at Vancouver. To be the best, you must train like the best. Baseballdudes.com. Proper Cuts Barbershop, Carlos and the boys down there on Baker Street here in McMinnville. Check them out. Tell them Norm and Brian sent you in. Maybe get a couple bucks off, possibly. And what else we got? Oh, yeah, YamhillToday.com. We stream live every show, YamhillToday.com. So we'll be back for 7:15 show with former Jesuit High School star DJ Jackson of Two Hand Pros. Thanks for listening.